What the devil is going on with Lord Vader and Scorch and Bo-Katan Mandalore? I don't even understand. What is this? You're all probably likely aware that Barbarossa, one of the members of the community, does a lot of data mine testing. He's got his own private server, essentially, where he's able to download a version of the game with all the latest assets and manipulate it to do stuff like this, which is to get a full actual Lord Vader Darkside clones team with an R9 Scorch and an Omicron completely maxed out and test it with GAC Omicrons active and everything to do funny things. Anyway, he does this all the time, and he's found some interesting stuff, most notably that Bo-Katan Mandalore is whooping Lord Vader's ass in GAC environments for 5v5. It's not even close. And the problem is, there's a really weird bug that's actually getting activated at the moment. You just saw it trigger at the end there. And the problem with it is this. Essentially, what's happening is a combination of things. If we take a look at Bo-Katan Mandalore, one of the effects that she's got is this ability called Ancestral Resolve. You can gain additional stacks of Ancestral Resolve, essentially by dealing damage with true damage on the team. For each stack of Ancestral Resolve, you are going to up your max health, essentially, and whenever you deal true damage to the enemy, you deal an instance of true damage back to them based on the number of stacks that you have. More stacks, more true damage, right? This, for some reason, is working in a funky manner with a buff on the Lord Vader team, which is called Dramatic Entrance. And what does Dramatic Entrance do? It gives 25% additional offense, but you also deal bonus true damage equal to 10% of the target's max health, which can't be evaded. Gain 20% turn meter and Dramatic Entrance for 2 turns if this unit defeats an enemy. So essentially, you know, when we start the battle, everybody's got this, right? But there's some weird interaction that's going on right now, where as the enemy is gaining more stacks of Ancestral Resolve, and once they've taken a turn, as soon as we start dealing that max health damage, it then gets reflected back to us. And as they gain more and more stacks of Ancestral Resolve, the damage we take is based on their max health. So it's going up and up and up. It's frankly ridiculous. So if we watch this footage from Barbarossa, we can see exactly when it happens. Now, this icon over here, this is the Dramatic Entrance icon for Lord Vader's team, all right? It's different to the one that we get on Poe Dameron. He's got like a ship-based one, essentially. So we can see right now, when we do that attack, there is an AoE attack that deals some damage. We've got Dramatic Entrance. We should be doing AoE damage. There's nothing getting reflected back right now, okay? We can see that quite clearly. And when we do this AoE, nothing is getting reflected back at us right now. And we do another bit of damage. You can see here, this 52,823 damage here, that is true damage being afflicted by Dramatic Entrance, and nothing is happening to our allies. That all changes as soon as the enemy takes a turn. So we're doing it all here, we've got our bulwark up, and the enemy still hasn't taken a single turn yet. There's that true damage, nothing is happening to our allies as soon as they take one turn. Right? Soon, I don't know why it's as soon as they take one turn, it just happens. Now watch now, when we go forward from this point, you'll notice that when we deal damage with Dramatic Entrance, it gets reflected back, all right? It gets reflected back, and we'll see it here. He's got 60 stacks of Ancestral Resolve. We deal some damage. Check it out there. We can see 21,810 points of damage, right? And then reflected over here, what have we got? We've got 12,001 points of damage, which is weird. And I assume it's hitting Scorch because Scorch is taunting. I assume that's why the damage is reflected at him and not at Lord Vader, for example. But why? And shouldn't it be dealing 21,800? I'm only assuming that because Scorch used Bulwark and Bulwark increases defense, maybe that's decreased the damage output, but it shouldn't because it's a percentile health effect, so I'm confused as to why it does damage the way it does. And now this will happen every time we hit a character that has taken a turn, essentially. We're going to take that true damage until we lose Dramatic Entrance, all right? So you see here, 42 points of damage, and we just took 39,601 points of damage on Scorch. That's not an insignificant amount of damage. Let's keep going. Another attack here. There we go, 60,000 true damage over here, and for some reason we took 13,600 points of damage over here. It's a little bit confusing. I'm not really sure what's going on, how the damage is calculated exactly. It seems very confusing. This is where it gets a little bit painful, though. We do an AoE, And the game, whatever version of the game Barbarossa is running here, is not quite able to do all the calculations because, this AoE triggers all the dots on the entire enemy team, does a bunch of damage. All of that's going to get reflected onto Scorch. Now watch Scorch's health right now. He's up here at the moment, top right corner, right above the R. And boom, he basically died in that one AoE. Now, Lord Vader no longer has dramatic entrance, so he's no longer doing any true damage, which means nothing is getting reflected back. Scorch, however, just does a basic on Bo-Katan Mandalore and takes 48,000 points of damage to himself. It's like they've got that retribution modifier from Conquest and from Galactic Challenge when you face off against Padme. It's just that bad. And then you go, the Nightfall Trooper over there does a basic and we take 49,000 points of damage. Now, I think it has to do with the stacks of Ancestral Resolve, because back here when we did the other basic with Scorch, that one they had 82 stacks of Ancestral Resolve doing 48,000 points of damage, and then over here she's at 84 stacks of Ancestral Resolve and it's gone up a marginal amount. So I think it's to do with the max health of the target character, but I'm not entirely sure, I will be honest. It seems a little bit squiffy in its application, I feel. I don't think it has to do with... Well, maybe it does have something to do with the base stats of the character, I don't really know. All I know is this doesn't seem quite right. Does it? Does it? No, it doesn't. Now, color me surprised, but turns out sometimes CG releases new kits and they've got some bugs. This is a significant one. If you have been wailing on the new Dark Side clones and you've got them all to Relic 9 like this guy's got here and the Omicrons and everything like that, it's getting beat by essentially a 2-year-old meta at this point. 2-year-old, year-and-a-half-old meta. Probably don't put it on defense just in case. We don't know if and when this is going to be fixed or if this will become a feature, just kind of like how Jawas, their thermal detonator spreading that just basically sets off Hiroshima, sorry not to be culturally insensitive or anything like that, against any enemies that are doing AoEs. It's just like, oh, there's thermal detonators everywhere, what am I going to do? And I was going to make an IRA joke then, but I won't, because, we can only do one joke like that in a video, I think. But anyway, what I'm trying to say is we don't know what CG is going to do about this, how long it's going to take, and if it'll ever actually get fixed. The other side of it is, of course, that no matter what, even if they fix Bo-Katan and they don't want Bo-Katan beating them, because they managed to lock out non-GL counters to Lord Vader in 3v3 with Fennec, they've taken that off the table completely, but opened up Bo-Katan still, you could still beat it with Mon Mothma in 5v5. Which we can see in this footage here. This is a pretty prototypical sort of Mon Mothma team versus Lord Vader. There are no Datacrons active in this, and Datacrons will do a little bit of work here to try and make it a bit harder for Mon Mothma to win, but ultimately in 5v5, we don't really have an effective way of stopping turn meter generation on Lord Vader team, because they will just cleanse the dots immediately, and Mon Mothma does actually have a pretty good Datacron that's active right now that will help her continually do this and continually ramp and loop in terms of turn meter against Lord Vader. Now, I wouldn't say it's absolutely guaranteed. If you don't keep that turn meter 100% up and running, you will likely lose a unit very, very quickly, and that can still snowball. But in 3v3s, you've got CX2's Omicron, which is going to reapply dots to the enemy team when they cleanse them, and if they've got dots, they cannot gain turn meter. So this is a 5v5 counter only, I feel, if you have the CX2 Omi, but this is still a very, very big solution. Now, I'm not saying that every new team has got to be completely unbeatable. I don't want that. Nobody wants that. We're just getting a little bit of mixed messaging from CG around what they want to actually have happen with teams that they put out. They're stating that they don't want non-Galactic Legend teams to beat Lord Vader, so that they make it very much counter Fennec teams against Lord Vader, which weren't 100% success rates. They were probably around 70-80%. So they deliberately design it to beat Fennec, but then they leave other counters completely out in the open, like this Mon Mothma one. And then there's this massive bug with Bo-Katan right now that is just destroying your Scorch, because true damage just wrecks you even if you've got defense stacking up the wazoo. Either way, what we can say for certain is right now, Lord Vader is not in a fantastic space, defensively speaking, getting beaten by two relatively accessible teams. So maybe he's going to go on offense and have fun with other teams that way. Or you can try and draw out your Momo teams and your Bo-Katan teams on the front wall, but that sounds incredibly risky. 3v3 still looks pretty amazing though. And maybe Tarkin will be too. Anyway, if you're looking for some free shards of Scorch, I'm doing a stream later on today where I'll be giving them away for free. So come join me for a quiz. See you there, ladies and gentlemen. I will see you all in the very next video. Peace out, and may the Force be with you.